Day 32, we're home. And home was a good place to be. I had my bed, my pillow. But it was harder than, it was still really hard. It was harder than I guess I thought it might be just to be home. There was a lot that was being done for Eric by wonderful nurses in the hospital, and now I was going to be a nurse, and I knew I was never equipped to be a nurse. But there is a verse in Scripture that I call my life verse, and it's in Corinthians 12:9, where Jesus says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And I was weak, tired, had to get up every 3-4 hours, set my alarm for middle of the night to make sure Eric had his medication, which included fentanyl, so you know that he was still in a great deal of pain. And yet, God was so good amid the hard. It was Christmas Eve the next day, Christmas Day coming, and even amid the hard, there was such beauty. Linda Poikinen had coordinated a campaign to find out my children's wish list for Christmas gifts, and she coordinated the Watertown people to help with that. And it wasn't a small task, especially when you think about Lily's wish list was a kitten. But they all came through, and it was beautiful. And Maxine and Jerry Hendricks gave each one of my children a card, a beautiful card with a message and a crisp $100 bill for them to open on Christmas Eve. And we had help with all of the 4-hour shift things that I was doing, and then trying to get back to work, and still had 3 other children, of course. Joe, a junior in high school, Lily, a freshman, busy with school and life, and Holly in between college and home for a while, with kind of struggling like Eric was with what to do with life. And all of that wrapped up in just a lot of good to be home, hard to be home. But I had people like you that would do an overnight shift. Nurse Anna and Nurse Liz, cousins that were not afraid to say, "I'll stay overnight, you get some rest." And for people that stepped up and said, "I'll take him to PT." I remember Teresa Salonik and Amy Kelfkin and so many others willing to do that, which at the time required transferring him from a wheelchair or at least a walker at some point in the snow and the cold, so that I could start to get back to life and not be so much of his nurse and maybe just more of his mom, and a mom to my 4 beloved kids who had really not had me around for a while. And I just want to thank you for that. And I, we needed to have a handicap accessible shower for Eric, a bathroom for him to go, and that meant the basement was the best bet because there was a walkout and we could get him into the basement without having to go up this and down the stairs. And I had hoped that they would just put it, the plumbing was in, I just hoped for a toilet and a shower head, and that would be good. But my brother Jerry, my brother-in-law Mike Reinert, Pat New, Gary Batchelor, all with their skills of carpentry and tile and sheetrock and plumbing, all came together, and they just created a beautiful basement for us. Way beyond what we had wanted was just a little bit of a bathroom. And I remember thinking that was just too much, and yet I talked to Mike and thanked him as he's on his stilts and finishing up the drywall and doing so much more than we had thought and needed. But he said, Linda, I wanted to do something for Eric and I couldn't do anything, and that was awful. And now it's good because I can do something for him. And that gave me that perspective of Jesus saying it is better to give than receive. Finally, Mike had the better gift and he could do something, and that felt good to him. And it was a blessing, of course, for us. But I think about how hard it was to wake up every 3-4 hours and still deal with life and try to get back to work and PT and acupuncture and doctor appointments and a bed set up in the living room, and just hard amid the beautiful, just as I've said, the railroad tracks, the good and the hard. But that just brought to mind that it's okay. It is just okay if you are in a really hard place. And looking back now with the wisdom I have, I might do things differently. Not try to get back to work quite as fast, although at the time finances were an issue and actually liked my job. So that was part of it, just get back to something. But I think about it's okay if you say no, and it's okay. That's a complete sentence. And it's okay. And it's okay to realize it's really good that Eric was home, but it was really hard as well. And that reminded me of the scripture in Isaiah 43, verse 2, where it says, though you go through the raging waters, in the sea you will not drown. And even though you go through the fire, you will not be burned. And so it was going through the fire and going through the storm and going through the wind and waves, but we were blessed and we were protected. And I want to end today with a song that sung in church, a hymn written by the St. Louis Jesuits. I don't know when, but quite a while, because I remember singing this for many, many years. I'm just going to read it because it's based on Isaiah 43 too. And I think it's a message for any one of you who are in a season that it's gotten better or your prayer is answered, but gosh, it's still hard. Gosh, it's still hard. And I'm just going to read the portion that I think will speak to your heart. If you pass through raging waters, in the sea you shall not drown. If you walk amid the burning flames, you shall not be harmed. If you stand before the power of hell and death is at your side, know that I am with you through it all. Be not afraid. I go before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you rest. See you tomorrow.